Number 17 on this list was quietly dropped from school cookery classes in 1982 for being too low-tech to teach. Your Nan never owned a NutriBullet or an air fryer. She had a chip pan, a bread bin, and a head full of tricks that would shame Michelin chefs. Number 4 is something Heston Blumenthal once admitted he learned from his grandmother in Southend. And number 1? Food scientists at Reading University proved it works on a molecular level 3 decades after our Nans were doing it without ever opening a textbook. These aren't recipes. They're survival skills with flavor. Hit subscribe before we start, because at least 3 of these will change how you cook this week. Let's count down. Number 30. Salt in the egg water. Your Nan dropped a heaped teaspoon of table salt into the pan before boiling eggs, and not a single shell ever cracked. The salt raised the boiling point a fraction, and if a shell did split, the salt seized the leaking white instantly, sealing the breach before it could string out across the pan. Eggs cost about 2p each in 1953, far too dear to lose to a burst yolk drifting in cloudy water. The eggs peeled cleanly the moment they hit a bowl of cold tap water, the shells lifting away in 2 or 3 pieces. Modern recipe books rarely mention it. Your Nan would shake her head at the waste in every kitchen across Britain this morning. Number 29. Bay leaf in the flour bin. Tucked into every container of plain flour, self-raising flour, and porridge oats sat a single dried bay leaf. The eucalyptus oils inside the leaf released slowly over months, and weevils simply could not abide them. In 1956, before sealed plastic containers, an open bag of flour might survive 3 weeks in the larder before infestation. With a bay leaf, you could stretch that to 6 months. A jar of bay leaves cost 9p and lasted years. Your Nan tucked a fresh one in at the start of every season, never knowing the leaf's natural insecticidal compounds were doing the work. We pay extra for airtight lock and lock containers now, and still get pantry moths by August. Number 28. Toasted breadcrumbs from yesterday's loaf. Stale bread never hit the bin. Your Nan tore the heels and dried ends into chunks, spread them on a baking tray, and toasted them low in the oven until they crisped golden. Then she crushed them between 2 sheets of greaseproof with a rolling pin, sieved them, and stored the crumbs in an empty Bovril jar. They lasted weeks, coating fish fillets, topping macaroni cheese, binding rissoles. Those crumbs cost nothing and gave a crunch that shop-bought golden crumb could never match. A loaf cost 1 shilling in 1958, so wasting even the heel was unthinkable. Today we buy a bag of breadcrumbs for £1.40, while the perfectly good ends of our sourdough go straight to landfill. Number 27. Tea bag in the beef stew. This one sounds balmy until you taste the difference. Your Nan dropped a single PG Tips bag into the stew pot for the last 20 minutes of simmering, then fished it out before serving. The tannins in the tea did exactly what red wine does in a French Boeuf Bourguignon, deepening the color to a glossy mahogany and softening the harshness of cheap mince. A box of 40 tea bags cost 9p in 1962, far cheaper than a bottle of Plonk. The stew came out the color of a chestnut and tasted like it had been simmering since breakfast. Restaurant chefs in Yorkshire still use this trick and charge £18 a portion for it. Your Nan did it for tea on a Tuesday. Number 26. Cold butter to finish scrambled eggs. The French call this monter au beurre and write whole pages about it. She would take the pan off the heat just before the eggs looked done, when they were still glossy and slightly underset. Then she would stir in a small cube of cold butter straight from the fridge. The fat coated the protein strands and stopped them tightening any further. Eggs stayed creamy, almost custardy, Never the rubber pellets we end up with from leaving them too long on the gas. A quarter pound of butter cost 1 shilling and threepence in 1955, so this was no extravagance. It was the difference between proper eggs and the school canteen version your kids complain about now. Number 25. Resting Yorkshire batter overnight. Every Nan worth her pinny mixed the Yorkshire pudding batter the night before. The flour, eggs, and milk went into a jug, got whisked smooth, then sat covered with a saucer in the cold larder until Sunday morning. The starches in the flour fully hydrated overnight, and the gluten relaxed, which meant the puds rose taller, crisped harder, and did not go leathery the moment they hit the plate. Modern bakers at the Royal Society of Chemistry actually tested this in 2008 and confirmed your Nan was right. Overnight rested batter rises 40% higher. We faff about with whisking just before the joint comes out, and wonder why our Yorkshires sit there like flat little flannels. Number 24. Mustard powder in the cheese sauce. Half a teaspoon of Coleman's mustard powder stirred into every cheese sauce, every macaroni cheese, every cauliflower cheese your Nan ever made. She wouldn't tell you it was there. It didn't make the sauce taste of mustard. What it did was sharpen the cheese, dragging out the savory depth of a mild cheddar, so it tasted like an aged farmhouse one. A tin of Coleman's powder cost sixpence in 1957 and lasted the best part of a year. Cookery writers like Delia spent decades trying to get British home cooks to remember this trick. Your Nan never forgot it. Cheese sauce without mustard powder is just yellow gloop, and she knew it before food science had a name for the chemistry behind it. Number 23. Vinegar in the poaching water. A tablespoon of malt vinegar went into the simmering pan before a single egg was cracked into it. The acid coagulated the proteins on the outside of the white the instant it hit the water, which meant no stringy mess swirling around the pan like a jellyfish. The egg held its shape, the white wrapped tight around the yolk, and what came out on the slotted spoon looked like something from a hotel breakfast buffet. Sarson's malt vinegar cost 9 pence a bottle in 1960, and every kitchen had it. Cafes today use white wine vinegar and charge £14 for Eggs Benedict. Your Nan got the same result for the price of a postage stamp. Number 22. Salting aubergines for an hour. First pattern break. Here's where it gets controversial. Your Nan slit aubergine slices, salted them heavily with kitchen salt, and left them on a plate to weep for an hour before rinsing and patting dry. The salt drew out the bitter juices through osmosis, and the spongy flesh collapsed slightly, so it absorbed less oil when it hit the pan. Aubergines were exotic in 1968, costing nearly 2 shillings each from the new Greek grocers. Wasting one to bitterness was unthinkable. Modern food writers now insist aubergines have been bred to be less bitter, and you do not need to salt them anymore. Try it both ways. The salted slices fry crisper, less greasy, and taste cleaner. Your Nan was using food science. The supermarket plant breeders are still trying to overrule. Number 21. A pinch of sugar on the tomatoes. Tinned tomatoes in the 1960s were brutal, acidic, watery, with that tinny aftertaste from the can lining. Your Nan sprinkled half a teaspoon of caster sugar into the pan before anything else went in. Not enough to taste sweet, just enough to neutralize the harsh edge and let the natural tomato flavor come through. The British Tomato Growers Association admitted in 1971 that the average tin of tomatoes had a pH of 4.1, sharp enough to strip enamel. Sugar did the same job as a slow roast does to fresh tomatoes, dragging the sweetness forward. Italian grandmothers swore by it. British ones learned from them after the war. A bag of sugar cost 9 pence, lasted a fortnight, and saved every spag bowl from tasting like vinegar. Number 20. The clove-studded onion. Stocks, soups, and the milk for a bread sauce always got an onion peeled and stuck with 3 or 4 whole cloves, then dropped in to simmer. Your Nan called it a clouted onion in the old kitchen language. The onion released sweet, savory depth as it broke down. The cloves perfumed the liquid without anyone needing to chew on them later. Fishing the whole thing out at the end took 2 seconds. A small bag of cloves from the chemist cost about $1 and lasted 3 years. Modern recipe books tell you to make stock with 12 ingredients. Your Nan did it with an onion, 3 cloves and a bay leaf, and the chef on television last week called it minimalist cooking. Number 19. Apple in the cake tin. Once a Victoria sponge cooled, your Nan wrapped it loosely in greaseproof, then sealed it in a quality street tin with a slice of cooking apple sitting on a saucer next to it. The apple released a tiny amount of moisture into the enclosed air. 3 days later, the cake was as moist as the moment it left the oven. Without the apple, sponges turned to dust in 48 hours. Cake tins cost half a crown in 1955 and got used for decades. We buy plastic Tupperware now, sponges still dry out by Thursday, and the bakery industry sells us preservative-packed cakes to solve a problem your Nan fixed with half a Bramley. Number 18. Lemon zest in the mash. Sounds wrong. Tastes brilliant. Your Nan grated about a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon zest into the mashed potato for fish nights. Not enough to taste of lemon. Just enough to lift the whole plate, cut through the richness of butter and milk, and stop the mash sitting like clay in the stomach. Citrus was a luxury in 1953, 1 lemon costing 4p, but a single fruit zested could season 4 nights of mash. The trick came back from wartime canteens, where cooks were trying to make powdered potato palatable. Your Nan kept it long after fresh potatoes returned, because it simply worked. Try it Friday with battered cod. Even children who hate vegetables will clear the plate without realizing why. Number 17. Bicarbonate of soda in the mash. Half a teaspoon of bicarbonate in the water with the boiling potatoes, and the spuds came out fluffy enough to whip into clouds. The alkaline water broke down the pectin in the potato cell walls faster, so they cooked softer, drier, and absorbed butter like a sponge. King Edward's or Maris pipers responded best. A box of bicarbonate cost 4p in 1958 and went into half a dozen kitchen jobs a week. Modern chefs at the Fat Duck use the exact same technique and call it molecular gastronomy. The Food Science Journal, Critical Reviews in Food Science, published a study in 2016 confirming alkaline boiling produces measurably fluffier mash. Your Nan did this on a Wednesday without a single peer reviewer. Number 16. 2 pans for Pancake Day. Most cooks heat 1 frying pan and despair when the first 3 pancakes come out pale, soggy, or stuck. Your Nan heated 2. 1 on a high flame for cooking, 1 on a low flame keeping the cooked pancakes warm under a folded tea towel. The cooking pan never lost its heat between batches, so every pancake from the 1st to the 15th came out crisp at the edges and lacy in the middle. A second pan was no extravagance. Every kitchen had at least 3 frying pans, often passed down from her own mother. We use 1 expensive non-stick pan now and wonder why Shrove Tuesday turns into a rubbery disaster every February. Number 15. Corn flour slurry for the gravy. When the gravy from the roasting tin came out thin and watery, your Nan did not reach for the Bisto granules. She mixed a heaped teaspoon of corn flour with 2 tablespoons of cold water in a teacup, whisked it smooth, then poured it in a thin stream into the simmering gravy while stirring. 30 seconds later, the gravy was glossy, thick, and clung to the meat like silk. A box of Brown and Polson's corn flour cost 7p in 1956 and did the work of 3 modern thickeners. Add it directly to hot gravy and it lumps. The cold slurry trick prevented that completely. Restaurant gravy at Sunday carveries today is still made exactly this way. Your Nan was finishing sauces like a brigade chef without realizing. Number 14. Onion juice in the mince. Second pattern break. Now things get clever. Your Nan grated half an onion through the coarse holes of a box grater, juice and pulp together, straight into the mince before browning. The natural enzymes in raw onion juice broke down the meat proteins as it sat, tenderizing cheap mince in under 20 minutes. A pound of mince cost 2 shillings in 1955, and stretching it to feed 6 meant making every strand soft enough to fall apart. The Korean trick of using grated pear in bulgogi works on exactly the same principle. Your Nan was doing it in a Doncaster terrace 40 years before MasterChef discovered Korean cuisine. The shepherd's pie that came out of her oven had a melting texture you simply cannot get from supermarket lean mince today. Number 13. Brown sugar with a slice of bread. Brown sugar in the cupboard always turned to a brick by Wednesday. Your Nan dropped a thin slice of white bread into the sugar jar and screwed the lid back on. The bread held just enough moisture to keep the sugar grains loose, but not so much that it made them wet. A slice lasted about a fortnight before going stale itself, at which point she replaced it. A bag of soft brown sugar cost 9p and got wasted constantly by lesser cooks. With the bread trick, every spoonful came out loose, ready to weigh, ready to bake. Now we microwave hardened brown sugar to soften it and ruin half of it in the process. A heel of bread did the same job for free. Number 12. Half a potato for oversalted soup. Whoever was at the hob added too much salt to the lentil soup. Your Nan didn't water it down. She peeled a large potato, cut it in half, and dropped both pieces into the pot to simmer for 15 minutes. The potato absorbed the excess salt by osmosis, the same way the raw potato trick rescued tea-time stews. Fish out the potato halves, throw them away, and the soup tasted balanced. Not diluted, not sweetened, just right. This trick appeared in the Women's Institute cookbook of 1962 as essential kitchen knowledge. Modern food blogs argue about whether it works. The chemistry says yes. Your Nan stopped arguing about it the first time it saved her tea. Number 11. Crushed digestives as a pudding base. Long before shop bought tart cases or graham crackers from America, your Nan put 8 digestive biscuits in a clean tea towel, bashed them with a rolling pin until they were sand, mixed in 2 ounces of melted butter, and pressed the lot into a flan tin. Put it in the fridge for 20 minutes, and you had a pudding base ready for lemon mousse, set chocolate cream, or the bottom of a trifle. A packet of McVitie's digestives cost 9p in 1958, and a base cost about half that. We buy ready-made cheesecake bases for £2.50 now. That taste of nothing. Your Nan's biscuit base had the deep, malty flavor of the original digestive. Slightly bitter, slightly buttery, never sweet enough to compete with the topping. Number 10. The foil tent resting trick. When the joint came out of the oven, your Nan never carved it straight away. She covered it loosely with a tent of kitchen foil, shiny side in, and let it sit for at least 15 minutes. The shiny foil reflected the residual heat back into the meat, keeping it warm without cooking it further. The muscle fibers relaxed, the juices redistributed from the center outward, and when the carving knife finally went in, the meat stayed pink in the middle, and the board did not fill up with wasted juice. A roll of Becker foil cost 1 6p in 1965 and lasted 3 months. Modern cooks slice the joint hot, juice floods the plate, and the meat goes grey within minutes. Your Nan knew patience was a seasoning. Number 9. Egg wash for the pastry shine. Before every meat pie, sausage roll, or fruit tart went into the oven, Your Nan beat a single egg yolk with a teaspoon of milk in a teacup. She brushed it across the top of the pastry with a pastry brush kept solely for that job. 20 minutes later, the pies came out of the oven gleaming bronze, the color of polished mahogany. Without the egg wash, the pastry came out pale, dull, faintly grey. An egg cost 2 pence in 1956, and 1 yolk made 6 pies. Modern bakers spray pastries with cooking oil and wonder why they look anemic. The proteins in the egg yolk caramelize in the oven heat to produce that distinctive golden lacquer, and nothing else replicates it. Your Nan achieved professional pastry chef finishing without ever wearing whites. Third pattern break. The next ones are about to surprise you. Number 8. Marmite as the stock booster. A heaped teaspoon of Marmite stirred into beef stew, oxtail soup, or the gravy for a shepherd's pie, and the entire dish gained 5 hours of simmering depth. The yeast extract was basically pure glutamate. The umami compound food scientists now charge a fortune to bottle as MSG. Marmite was invented in Burton-upon-Trent in 1902 by a chemist who realized brewery waste was packed with savory intensity. Your Nan didn't need the chemistry. She just knew a teaspoon of Marmite made a stew taste like one twice as expensive. A jar cost 1 shilling and 3pence in 1957 and lasted 2 years. We pay £8 for a bottle of liquid umami at Waitrose now. The black jar at the back of the pantry was doing the same job in 1955. Number 7. Stewing beef in cold tea. The toughest cuts, shin, scrag end, brisket, went into a casserole dish with a pint of strong, cold black tea poured over them before any other liquid was added. Your Nan let it sit for an hour, drained off the tea, and then started the stew. The tannins in the tea broke down the connective tissue and tenderized the muscle fibers just enough to cut hours off the cooking time. By the time the stew was ready, the meat fell apart under a fork. A box of Brook Bond tea cost 9pence and stretched to 50 cups, so a pint for the meat was nothing. Restaurant chefs now use this trick with cold brew Earl Grey and put it on the tasting menu. Your Nan called it making Tuesday's dinner edible. Number 6. Beer in the batter. For fish and chips at home, your Nan didn't use water in the batter. She used a half pint of pale ale or stout, depending on the fish. The carbonation produced a lighter, lacier crust. The alcohol evaporated in the fryer, leaving behind a malty, savory crispness that water-based batter could never match. A bottle of Mackeson's cost 9 pence in 1960, and half a bottle made enough batter for 4 pieces of haddock. The chip shop down the road used the same trick, and charged a shilling for chips and fish. Modern recipe books credit the beer batter idea to Yorkshire pub chefs in the 1990s. Your Nan was doing it 3 decades earlier. Beer batter was the difference between proper chippy crunch and the soggy lumps that come out of frozen boxes today. Number 5. Cold water bath for the boiled eggs. The moment the boiled eggs came out of the pan, your Nan plunged them into a bowl of cold tap water for 2 minutes, then peeled them under the running tap. The temperature shock contracted the egg slightly inside the shell, creating a tiny air gap between the membrane and the white. The shell lifted off in 2 or 3 big pieces every time. Without the cold bath, peeling boiled eggs is a 30-minute war of chipped fragments and torn whites. Cold water cost nothing, and your Nan never wasted a single egg to a botched peel. We pay extra now for easy peel free-range eggs at Sainsbury's, missing the fact that the easy peel comes from the cooling, not the chicken. Number 4. Soaking sliced onions in cold water. For salads, sandwiches, or pickled herring, your Nan sliced raw onions thinly and soaked them in a bowl of cold water with a splash of vinegar for 10 minutes before draining. The water washed out the sulfur compounds that made raw onion harsh, bitter, and overpowering on the breath. What was left was the sweet, gentle onion flavor without the chemical burn. Pickled onion sandwiches at picnics in 1960 contained onions treated this way as a matter of course. Heston Blumenthal openly says he learned this trick from his grandmother and uses it in his ploughman's lunch at the Heinz Head. Your Nan was 3 generations ahead of a Michelin-starred chef. A bag of pickling onions cost 5p and lasted a fortnight, every slice tamed and table-ready. Number 3. Bicarbonate of soda for dried pulses. Dried haricot beans, butter beans, and marrow-fat peas were all soaked overnight in cold water with a teaspoon of bicarb mixed in. The alkaline water softened the seed coat and shortened the next day cooking time from 3 hours to about 90 minutes. The bicarb also broke down the gas, producing oligosaccharides inside the beans, which meant the family did not spend the evening rolling around the parlor after tea. A pound of dried beans cost about a shilling in 1955 and fed the family 3 meals. Tinned beans cost 5 times as much per ounce. Your Nan saved a small fortune every week using a 4-penny box of bicarbonate. The 2019 Journal of Food Science published research confirming the alkaline soak reduces flatulence-causing compounds by 60%. Your Nan was running food science from the cupboard under the stairs. Number 2. The sugar cube revival. Bitter tea, over-stewed coffee, harsh tinned soup. Anything that had gone sharp got rescued with a single white sugar cube. Not enough to sweeten, just enough to round off the bitter edges and bring the drink or dish back into balance. Sucrose blocked the bitter taste receptors on the tongue, which masked the harshness without changing the underlying flavor. A box of Tate and Lyle sugar cubes cost 9p in 1960 and sat in every kitchen and on every cafe table. Modern coffee shops put up signs about brewing temperature and bean acidity to explain bitter cups. Your Nan dropped a cube in and stirred. The cup tasted right. She never read a food science paper in her life, and she was running flavor chemistry by feel. Number 1, and finally in first place, saving the pasta water and the potato water. The starchy water left in the pan after boiling pasta or potatoes never went down the drain. Your Nan poured it into a Pyrex jug and kept it. Pasta water went straight back into the sauce, where the dissolved starch bound oil and tomato together into a glossy restaurant-quality emulsion that clung to every strand of spaghetti. Potato water went into bread dough, where the same starch helped the loaf rise softer and stay fresh for an extra 2 days. Food scientists at Reading University published a paper in 2017 confirming that starchy cooking water produces measurably better sauce emulsions and breadcrumb structures. Your Nan never read the paper. She had been doing it since 1947. A pint of starchy water cost nothing, did the work of expensive sauce thickeners and bread improvers, and gave every meal that hard-to-define professional polish we now pay £30 a head for in an Italian restaurant. The chefs at the River Cafe credit Italian nonnas for the pasta water trick. British Nans were doing the exact same thing with their boiled potatoes the same year, and nobody bothered to write it down because everybody already knew. Try one of these this week. The egg wash on a sausage roll, the bicarb in your mash, the tea bag in the stew, the sugar cube in the bitter coffee. Then come back and tell me your Nan was just being old-fashioned. Tell me she wasn't doing food science 30 years before anyone called it that. Drop in the comments which one you're trying first. Because these weren't just tricks. They were the quiet genius of women who fed the country on a fraction of what we spend now, and remembered everything we keep paying to relearn.